Well, with no Speaker of the House, Congress can't take any action in response to the attacks in Israel. The lawmakers can't even pass a resolution of support for the ally. Missouri Capitol Bureau Chief Joe McLean tells us how the Missouri delegation is responding to the violence.
This weekend's attacks in Israel have claimed more than 1,100 lives, including those of at least 14 Americans. They were carried out by Hamas, a militarized political faction of Palestinian Islamic extremists. Missouri State University professor of Middle East politics David Romano said these attacks had an outsized impact.
In per capita terms, it would be as if 20,000 Americans were just killed, civilians, in terrorist attacks.
Missouri's congressional delegation came out in strong support for Israel, which has long been the United States' strongest ally in the Middle East.
The president has sent the Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier that's loaded with weaponry, loaded with helicopters and fighter jets and armaments that can be helicoptered over should they need that.
Kansas City area Congressman Mark Alford sits on the House Armed Services Committee. He and many other Republicans criticized the Biden administration for a deal he approved in September to free 5 American citizens being held in Tehran. The deal involved the unfreezing of $6 billion being held in South Korea, bound for Iran. Though the funds were not from the United States, they haven't been spent yet and are only allowed to be spent on humanitarian efforts. GOP members claimed it still facilitated the Hamas attack, which they claim was backed by Iran.
I don't think it was the only reason that this attack was carried out, but it certainly didn't help. When you have the largest terrorist state, Iran, directly contributing to the training, the operation, the planning of this horrific event, the largest slaughter of Jewish people since the Holocaust.
Alford said his committee has not yet been briefed by U.S. intelligence on the situation unfolding in Israel. A briefing is expected to happen on Wednesday. Every Missouri delegate from both parties issued messages of support for Israel following the attacks. Notably, St. Louis area Democratic Congresswoman Cori Bush called specifically for military de-escalation and called for the safety of non-Hamas Palestinians. In Jefferson City, Joe McLean, KY3 News.